Hello everybody, this is Custom MTG here today with another Magic the Gathering video. In today's video, we are going to be looking at a bunch of legendary custom cards, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on them. Are they too powerful? What are some problems? Are they really awesome? What works well with them? And all of that. This is one video in a series where I talk about a bunch of custom cards because honestly, new cards are one of the most fun parts about Magic, and custom cards let you experience that anytime you want. So, if you want to see more content like this, I do have a playlist called Custom MTG that just has all of my custom Magic stuff on it. I recommend you go give it a look. Either way, why don't we just jump right into this? Starting off, we have, also, by the way, in the upper left, you can see what Reddit user made the card. This was all found through r/custom magic. So, thank you to the creators of these cards. So we have Ozra, Unlife's Miasm. Sorry, it's a 6 cost, white, black, and green, legendary creature zombie archon, 5/5, with lifelink and trample, and it says other creatures get -2/2. Players may cast creature spells from their graveyard, and whenever a non-token creature dies, that creature's controller loses 3 life. So, first off, it enters the battlefield for 6, you're going to do this massive board wipe on both people's side. Then you're going to let people recast things. Now, they're not going to want to they can't recast things with toughness 2 or less because they instantly die, and then, that creature's controller will lose 3 life, so that's not great. So what this is clearly wanting you to do is first off play a lot of things that have 3 toughness or greater so that your stuff doesn't die. But it also wants you to be able to abuse that you can cast creature spells from your graveyard. That is so easy to abuse. Take any 1-drop that costs 1 black. Let's take, I don't know, anything. Then have a Phyrexian Arena on the battlefield, which lets you sack it to add 1 mana of any color. Boom, now you can infinitely sack it. Now, you are going to lose 3 life every time that happens. So that is a bad thing. But maybe you can do some interesting shenanigans with it that are going to kill your opponents first. So, yeah, it does kind of prevent you with that whole loses 3 life thing, but there are definitely ways you could get around it. Maybe you play a creature that generates a bunch of tokens, and then you sack those tokens to do something because you're not dying for tokens. So there are a lot of different interesting ways you could do this. Honestly, I kind of wish this said other non-token creatures, and then it gave you the idea of, ooh, maybe I should be a token deck. I don't know. Overall, it has some interesting, little, I can bring things back, but so on and so forth. So yeah, keep that. Also, by the way, the other creatures get -2/2 does make the whole 1-drop thing hard, but whatever. That is a very interesting commander that you definitely have to build around. It's not something you can just throw into any deck. Next we have Bubs the Frogkin with 1 trick. It's a 2-cost blue 1/1 legendary creature frog shaman. Whenever a player creates a token, you may have that token become a 1/1 blue frog creature token instead. So where would this be useful? This would be awesome if you had any effects that make your opponents create tokens as part of a cost. Boom, now they're all 1/1s, whatever. It's good against a token deck. I don't know how well it would work as a commander, mostly because I think a lot of the cards that make your opponents generate tokens are not in blue, but I do definitely like the design of this card. It definitely has some implications with some other cards within, just cards that, it's a really big creature, but your opponent gets a bunch of, maybe 2/2 flyers. Well, no, actually, they're 1/1 frog tokens. So yeah, that's definitely interesting. Next we have Selena the Cataclysm. It's white, blue, black, red, so everything but green. For a legendary creature, Angel 3/4, and it has flying, death touch, lifelink, haste, so very similar to a Traxxas where it has 1 keyword for each of its colors. Flying for blue, death touch for black, haste for red, and lifelink for white. And then it says pay 1 red, all creatures get +1/+0 until end of turn. That is powerful. That is fire breathing, but for all of your creatures at the same time. Blue, all creatures get -1/-0 until end turn. So remember, by the way, all creatures get +1/+0. That includes your opponents. Same thing with the all creatures get -1/-0. So if your opponent has an army of 1/1, you pay 1 blue, and now there's 0 1s. And then you can pay 1 white, black, tap to destroy all other creatures with power equal to 6. So exactly equal. So the idea here is that you, you +1, +1, or +1, -1, +1, -1 until you get all the creatures you want to kill to 6 power. So you choose a power, and however far away that is from 6, you pay that much either red or blue, and then you pay 3 and destroy all creatures with power 6. Now, obviously, that is a little bit convoluted, and I don't think that that tap ability is really the power of this card. I think giving all creatures +1/+0 until end of turn is insane. Maybe you play this with a bunch of first strikers. I don't know. I just think that this card is pretty crazy, but I don't think it's too powerful. I think it is something they could theoretically print. So yeah, I definitely like the design. I would love to see more 4-color commanders. Next we have the little guys. It's 1 red, green, blue for legendary creature Squirrel Mouse 3/3, and it says creature spells you control you cast cost 2 less to cast. So you're gonna cast a 3-drop. It's actually only gonna cost 1. Obviously, that only reduces the generic mana. Then it says other non-token creatures you control have base power and toughness 1/1, haste, and have this creature can't be blocked. So the idea is your spells cost cheaper, but all your stuff is 1/1s. Now there are some interesting things you can do here. You can cast a bunch of creatures while it's on the battlefield and then get rid of the little guys, and then they become normal sized. Or you have potent ETB abilities or on-hit abilities, because anything with an on-hit ability will be able to hit the turn it comes out and can't be blocked. So there are just lots of different things. It also says base power and toughness, so you have a way to boost them. Now they're bigger. I think this card is so interesting. I would love for this to be a real Magic card. Honestly, probably one of my favorite designs of a custom card ever. There are so many different ways you can build it. You can build it just big stuff that's cheaper, and you remove the little guys to make it normal. You can play good ETBs because now your ETBs are cheaper. Think about it. Something like Eternal Witness now just costs 2 green. And then we also have the whole on-hit trigger thing. You also could theoretically have this be the whole I'm going to give it to my opponent. You could also build this as a token deck, expensive cards that make big tokens because tokens aren't affected. So many awesome things you can do with this card. I love it. Next we have Helga, Strict Librarian. It's a 4-cost white legendary creature, human wizard, 2/2, and it says non-token creatures with power 4 or greater have cumulative upkeep. Each opponent draws a card. So the idea here is that, right, each of your opponent's creatures and yours, so let's say your opponents have 3 creatures with power 4. Well, the first time that goes around the table, each other player, so let's say there are 4 players. Player 2 has a creature with power 4 or greater. All other players are going to draw a card. Then it's going to come back to that person's turn again, and now each other player is going to draw 2 cards. So first off, you have to worry about milling because it's going to go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you're going to be drawing tons of cards. And if they can proliferate, honestly, this may end up being a good strategy where it's kind of weird mono white mill. You get, just a bunch of creatures with power 4 or greater and mill all your opponents. And then you stop all your opponents from having creatures with power 4 or greater. It can also be just an interesting way to draw cards. I think you definitely need a way to get rid of this, and I don't know if this can be a commander on its own besides maybe mono white mill, but I do think it is definitely interesting. Next we have Rigrizgan, Hell's Warmonger. It is a white, blue, black, red, so same colors as our other 4-color. Legendary creature demon, 4/4 with flying, and whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its controller creates a treasure token. So you can encourage your opponents to hit each other instead of you, because then they get a treasure, and then you can sacrifice a treasure to goad target creature. So you can convince your opponents to not attack you, and then when they finally say, no, I'm going to attack you, you actually goad it so they can't attack you. I really like the design of this card. It could be an interesting Treasures Matters deck. It could be a goad deck. It could be a just manipulation of the game deck. There are so many things you could do with this. I love it. Next we have Ella, Ursine Ambusher. It's a green, blue, red for legendary creature, human warrior, 3/3 with flash. And at the beginning of your end step, if you didn't cast a spell this turn, create a 2/2 green bear creature token. And whenever you cast your first spell during an opponent's turn, put a +1/+1 counter on each bear you control. So this is encouraging you to play bears and flash tribal. Flash tribal is kind of a huge thing in standard right now, but this is definitely what commander you would use to do it. It's generally been either Simic Flash or Is It Flash, so you get the combination of the two. You just basically you also probably want to play this with things like werewolves, which encourage you to not cast spells. Just really interesting. Yeah, it works well. You're going to be creating lots of bears. You're going to be then making all those bears really big, and that's if you're doing flash things. It is very specific, though. You clearly are doing flash things. You're not doing anything else, unless you wanted a multicolored bear deck, then maybe. But then again, this thing isn't a bear itself. So, yeah, this is very, I think, narrow in its use, but I like it. Next, we have Gorag, Soul Sucker. It's a 3 blue black for a legendary creature shapeshifter 3/4 with haunt. So when it dies, exile it, haunting target creature. Whenever this creature Gorgon haunts dies. So whenever it haunts something with the thing that dies, return it to the battlefield as a copy of that creature, except it has haunt and this ability. So the idea here is, right, this thing is going to die first. It's going to be in your graveyard, and you're going to exile it. And you're going to be like, oop, I like that creature. Then once that creature dies, then this thing re-enters the battlefield as a copy of that creature. Then when your copy dies, it haunts something else, and then you kill it, and it comes back as a copy of that. So it kind of just, then, it's a copy spell that's very hard to get rid of. Now, if it gets exiled at any point, so whenever a creature it's haunting dies, so if it gets exiled, if it gets flickered, if it gets bounced, this thing is gone forever. So there is that risk. Now, if it's your commander, you can redo it, but I think if you're going to do like a, I'm going to make your creatures mine, this probably isn't your best choice, but I think it is definitely an interesting choice. So I really like the use of haunt here as a recurring thing. So yeah, I really like it. Next we have Fenex the Elusive. It's a 3-cost blue and black legendary creature, human rogue 2/2, and it can't be blocked. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw 2 cards, then discard a card from your hand. And then it has Escape, pay 6, exile 3 other cards from your graveyard, and he escapes transform. So you're going to play him as a creature, you're going to deal combat damage, discard, until eventually you have 3 other cards in your graveyard, and then you can pay 6 to get Fenex, God of the Returned. So it's kind of an interesting way to do Escape. Where it escapes transformed. I think that works better than the Titans, Titans are just an ETB effect, and then you get to keep the creature, but this feels very similar. I like the fact that he himself helps you get 3 cards in your graveyard, unless he dies. Very cool. And then we have Fenex, the God of the Returned. It's a legendary enchantment creature god 4/5 with indestructible, and as long as your devotion to blue and black is less than 5, Fenex isn't a creature. I kind of dislike that. Normally it's 7 for multicolored cards, but each creature in your graveyard has escape. The escape cost is equal to the card's mana cost plus exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. So this is very, very similar to Underworld Breach, which is kind of, a problematic card, but this is, first off, you get to do this permanently. Second off, different colors. Third off, you do have to get this thing Fenex killed, then pay 6, and it's a lot harder to get off. My only concern with this is the whole devotion to blue and black is less than 5. I feel like less than 7 is just more consistent with all the other gods. Either way, I like the card. Other than that tiny little nitpick, I like the design using Escape as, a Theros god. If a god was, encapsulated by Escape, this is what it would look like. So I like it. Next we have Cali of the Skull Grove. It's a 3-cost white, black, green legendary creature avatar 1/3 with vigilance, and whenever a creature or land enters your graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on Cali. Remove 3 +1/+1s on Cali. +1 counters on Cali. Return target creature or land card from your graveyard to your hand. So basically what you want to do is you want to self-mill, but there's no blue in here, which I think definitely makes it more interesting. But yeah, you probably are going to self-mill. You maybe do this in like a land sack deck too, but I think that this could have been more interesting if you did, whenever a creature or land enters the battlefield, enters your graveyard from the battlefield, put a counter, and maybe make it remove 2 counters. But as it stands right now, you mill yourself 3, you can then return one of those cards. So mill 3 turns into draw card. Mill 3 turns into anticipate, which I think is a little too powerful. I think this is definitely one of the more powerful ones. Just think about it. Any card. Put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. Obviously, it has to be a creature or land that enters your graveyard. But it is theoretically possible that your entire deck is creatures and lands. If that's the case, then this becomes mill 3, do this. There are definitely a lot of decks that would want this. The fact that it doesn't have blue does hurt it, which is good, but I still think it's a little too powerful. Next we have the end of the video. So yeah, those were 10 really awesome commanders that were found on r/custom magic. If you want to check out more custom magic cards, check out either my playlist or the subreddit. I hope you enjoyed. If you guys saw anything in the cards I didn't see, maybe I missed something. Maybe I missed some interaction that would make a card wildly broken, or maybe I am too, I thought one card was overpowered that really isn't. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.